Hello, this is Paul MIlligan for IC Show TV at IC 2017. Welcome for joining us for the basis of our panel discussions. Today I'm joined by Bernd Schindler, AV consultant from Germany, and Mark Johnson from PTS Consulting. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
So the topic today is what challenges do huddle rooms present for the AV industry? Mark, kick off with you.
I think they're a fantastic opportunity, to be honest. The inclusion of that level of technology in these small meeting spaces, which historically, if we look back a few years, would actually typically have just been addressed with nothing more than a laptop and a conference phone. We're now really embracing those spaces and recognising the metrics around the very high volume of small meeting rooms and the need for not more than 3 or 4 participants in a space. So I think overall they're good news, and the manufacturers are rising to the challenge.
Bernd, how do you view them? As a challenge, an obstacle, an opportunity?
No, I think it's a great challenge and a great opportunity. The opportunity is it improves the way or the quality how people work. But the challenge is to convince our customers to do it the right way. I think many of our customers, as well as many of the manufacturers here on the trade show, in my opinion, go a slightly the wrong way by trying to make huddle room solutions smaller and more compressed and cheaper. I see it the other way. I think as many people spend most of their working life, or at least a major part of their working life, in those kind of huddle spaces, they have to be equipped with not lower-end solutions, but we really have to convince our customers to put in high-end solutions to give them the best experience we can.
I mean, we held a magazine held a integrators roundtable recently, where one integrator said that was moaning about the rise of huddle rooms, saying that we've gone from €2,000 value meeting rooms to 200 value because these rooms are so small, and you're doing 3 of those instead of 3 of the bigger rooms. Is that your experience, or?
Well, with some customers, but we see some kind of success stories where customers decided to go the other way. One of our large enterprise customers made a decision to equip every huddle room starting from 2 or 3 seats with technology for 10 or 12,000 euros. So, but the project was about 1 year ago. There was about 40 or 50 rooms for a new building, and they now see the benefit. They see how productive these areas can be compared to the older areas where they equipped it with those kind of lower-end technologies.
Mark, have you seen a drop in project value because of the rise of huddle rooms? Or?
No, I think it's going to go the other way, to be honest. And I think one of the things we need to keep focused on is when an organisation's established a strategy, so say around remote management and support, for example, we need to ensure that the huddle rooms don't slip down the back of the sofa and become those sort of unmanaged, unsupported spaces. So all of a sudden you've broken your high-level strategic management philosophy by just putting in some $200 or $300 worth of unsupported, unmanageable technology. You've got to be mindful of the fact that these spaces will be used for the largest volume of meetings, and just because they're physically small, you shouldn't really diminish them in any way. By volume and by number, they will be the most used spaces. So no, we will be absolutely supporting deployment of enterprise grade technology that can be fully managed, supported, and extensively.
I mean, the technology and the terminology seems still relatively new. I mean, have we got to a stage yet where there is a standard huddle room? Are they all kind of quite different right now?
I think it's it takes a long time, and it's sometimes difficult to find the right solution for the right customer. Yeah. They're all very different. Of course, you have to stick with the reality that you sometimes have very tight budgets, and most customers they won't spend about 10,000 euros for a huddle room. Yeah. But you still have to find the right solution. And I totally agree with what you said. We shouldn't drop these below the manageability level, because when I look at our current projects, for instance, there is one project, a large office building with 250 of these rooms in it, and about 2 boardrooms and 10, let's call it, regular meeting rooms. So the huddle rooms make about more than 95% of the whole space. If we drop this below manageability, that's a complete mess. In ways that the productivity of the whole building drops. Because this customer analyzed its workforce behavior, and they found out that people spend 30 to 40% of their working time within those huddle spaces, though they should work. And when we consider, many people measure this kind of quality in time to meeting, the time that you need to start when you go in there, that you need to hook up your equipment, get the system running. And well, if you had a meeting in a meeting room once a month, it wasn't that important if it took you 1 minute or 5 minutes. If you have 5 meetings a day, that 2 minutes or 3 minutes make a difference in the overall amount of time that people spend working with technology.
Yeah, and I think that's a very valid observation, isn't it? And clearly the thrust of these spaces actually needs to be ease of use, virtually instant on. We go in there, we're productive straight away. There's an expectation that you're not going to be doing 10 minutes of faffing before you're actually starting to do something meaningful, because as you say, it's not a monthly event that's taking place in these sort of spaces. It's very much day-to-day activity, and you don't expect that overhead associated with a room that's going to be used that frequently.
Mark, are we at that stage where there is such thing as a standard huddle room, or are they all quite varied?
There's a great client of ours who had a lovely saying about standards, and he said, "We love standards. It's why we've got so many of them." and I think that's what we've got at the moment. Yeah. I think it will be some time before you see any true unification, and of course we've got a wonderfully diverse range of manufacturers. They're always going to be looking for a way to establish superiority and differentiators from their competitors. So no, I don't think you'll ever see a ubiquitous and totally generic design, because the manufacturers wouldn't. I don't think they'd want to play in that.
I mean, does a huddle room differ if you're supplying it for a financial client to a media client to a petrochemical client? Do those differ at all?
In my experience, we often find with clients that the perception that their industry sector drives their demands is perhaps just that. It's a perception more than an actual reality at the end of the day. If they need a desktop collaboration product, there's only a limited number from which to draw, and I'm sure the likes of the Ciscos and the Polycoms and so on and so forth, they don't necessarily think in terms of those markets, those verticals when they're designing their product sets. So I think they're equally applicable to all sectors.
Sure. But would you agree with that? Is it very much on a sort of client basis almost, the provision in the huddle room?
It really takes us in every project a long or pretty much time to figure out what's the right solution. For a long time, we had mainly industrial customers, companies like Siemens or a company called Schaeffler, which is an automotive supplier in Germany. And then we about 2 years ago, we started working for Adidas. And this is a completely different, like working for an engineering company where everybody is in suits and everything is well regulated, and then going to a company full of creative people. And they have they want the same level of quality, but they have totally different needs. Some of those companies are, especially the more conservative ones, aren't so into mobile devices as maybe like a company like Adidas, which is mobile first.
Sure.
And so you really have to find always this customer-specific solution. And that was that's about what I mentioned before. I don't like the approach of manufacturers saying we have the kind of one device solution. Like what I see as a pretty poor example, like the Microsoft Surface Hub. That one device, you can just buy a lot of money, put it in a room, and you're done. And I think this will, in many cases, won't work because it's not targeted to your customer. Yeah. It's just trying to find a best effort solution.
Mark, do you see the sort of huddle room as does it offer an opportunity for like audio and stuff, or do you think audio would be particularly difficult in a small space or maybe an open space? Some of these are kind of open and relaxed and
yeah, I think
a lot more informal than your traditional.
I mean, so most of the projects we're working on at the moment, the huddle space is an enclosed space. So from an audio perspective, we're hoping to set the bar very high, because those cozy environments, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to achieve excellent audio. And in terms of the video as well, we can optimize the lighting. It's very complementary in terms of camera angles, very easy to use. You've not got to worry about preset camera shots and all that sort of stuff, because a single locked off camera is going to work very well indeed. So yeah, in terms of overall levels of performance, I think this is one of the really big gains of the huddle space, because that compact environment really does lend itself to excellent audio and video. And it's one of the things as well, with looking back at a few years, there was always a trend with larger meeting spaces. People always felt that the larger the meeting space, the more comprehensive the technology should become, even though you'd be saying to clients, well, really, Mr. Client, you've got to think, whenever you're looking at a video conference room, however many people you've got in your room, think about doubling it, because psychologically we always tend to put a similar number of people at the other end of the call. Yeah. So an 8-person video conference room actually then ends up being a 16-person video call. And then that's a big meeting. 16 people is actually quite difficult to manage and administer. And if you think about the dialogue and the chit chat across the room, introduce the technology, and that then starts getting a bit awkward. You start thinking then about your huddle room with not more than 3 or 4 seats per end. That's a pretty perfect overall meeting where you've got a total of 8 people participating. And I think that's a really nice human factor that huddle rooms play to.
But you mentioned it earlier on, does bring your own device and kind of the rise of smart devices and stuff, is that a kind of central part of a huddle room? Do people always want to bring their own kit into it, or can they walk into it and get started with what's there already?
Sometimes it is. Yeah. Of course, I think in most of the cases it is. But interestingly, for some customers, or some of our customers made the decision to, although their people have a lot of mobile devices, to drop the idea of having this kind of easy connectivity, because it doesn't work overall for any devices, and just stick with something like a more room integrated system, like an integrated PC or some kind of integrated platform, to especially in companies where the IT environment is very diverse. That's what we see in our customers that are very creative companies. Like most of them don't have such hard restrictions on IT devices. It's like just you get some kind of budget and just get whatever device you like. And this makes it very difficult to find that one wireless or bring your own device solution that really works for all of them. Though sometimes in these cases it's the better solution to provide something in the room to present.
Mark, how do you? Is BOAD central to huddle rooms, or is it just another part?
I think speed and ease of use will just be the key driver here, and I think if companies find themselves adopting sort of middle stroke upper end huddle technology, whereby there is a client in the room, so, be it a Skype for business or what have you, client in the room. It's great as long as you can log on and you can be effective within seconds. If for whatever reason that's not a good experience, they're simply going to find that technology sat in the middle of the table not being used, because people will just bring their laptop in, HDMI in the back, USB 3 in the back, and what they were working on their desktop, their Skype for Business call, what have you, they'll just bring that into the room. So I think my view personally would be, if you're going to have the client in the room, it's got to be super efficient, super easy to use, because if it's not, people will they'll just rely on their laptops.
Seems like a perfect way to end. So Mark, thank you for your time. Bernd, thank you for your time. And that's all from us. Thank you.